All right. Well, welcome everyone to CNS Connect webinar series. I am Amy Smith, the Certification Programs Coordinator for the ANA. And today I am joined by Elana Bodner. We're going to discuss the getting started with business fundamentals. So if you are a CNS, you can earn 1 CEU for today's webinar. We've just recently added category number 5 to the recertification policy. So this is participation as a learner in a professional or structured education event. It does not have to be nutrition content. So there's a maximum of 10 CEs awarded in this category. And I will put a survey in the chat at the end for you to get that CE certificate. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the chat and the Q&A, and I will help to moderate that. So let's get started. So Elana is a licensed nutritionist, CNS, mentor, thought leader, business and marketing expert, and entrepreneur. She runs a private nutrition practice specializing in complex immune-related conditions. She is also the co-founder of the Nutrition Collaborative, which is an online supervised practice experience program for CNS candidates and provides one-on-one business coaching to nutrition professionals. She received her master's and post-bachelor's certificate in herbal studies from MUIH, as well as a culinary nutrition certificate from Natural Gourmet Institute and a health coaching certificate from IIN. She enjoys travel, loves animals, and is often found in the kitchen, tapping into her creative side and sharing her love of food and nutrition. So I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. Let me just get my screen share going. Just give it a minute here. Okay, hold on. Sorry, little technical difficulties. There we go.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, excellent. Welcome, everyone. My name is Elana Bodner, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about getting started with your nutrition business. Thank you, Amy and the BCNS, for inviting me to talk about one of my favorite topics, business fundamentals. Today, we are going to talk about how to get started with your nutrition practice, the ins and the outs of business fundamentals, and provide you with a step-by-step guide. But first, let me start by introducing myself. I'm a clinical nutritionist with over 25 years in business and marketing, partnering with companies to build and strengthen their brand, as well as through my own entrepreneurial endeavors. I have operated a handful of businesses and led strategic teams within a variety of marketing agencies. I started my practice in 2017 and specialize in complex immune-related conditions. These are environmentally acquired conditions like SEERS, mold illness, mast cell activation, autoimmune, and allergies and sensitivities. I'm also the co-founder of the Nutrition Collaborative, a CNS supervision program started in 2019 with Dr. Donna Filatova, and I am a volunteer with the ANA advocacy team and the ACNPE. I've enjoyed the opportunity to marry my professional experience and passions together with business, marketing, and nutrition to enrich our community. Before we begin, let's get real. I have seen too many people frozen in their tracks, unable to get started because they feel like they have to have all of their ducks in a row before heading out the gate. That is just not the case. This is a big process. It takes putting one step in front of the other with continuous additions and refinement. Just like your nutrition practice, you will continue to build onto your business as you grow. So be patient, stay focused, and move with clarity as you navigate through the path. Now, you don't need all the fancy trimmings to start seeing clients, but you do need a place to safely and securely communicate with clients, store client records, schedule appointments, conduct telehealth intercessions, and deliver supplements. These are the basics. They are your low-hanging fruit. The first expenses you need to invest in and the best way to start seeing clients and get paid. So your first step is to get organized with a HIPAA-compliant electronic medical record system, otherwise known as an EMR, or an electronic health record system. The three most popular ones are Practice Better, Simple Practice, and Healthy. There are various features, functionality, and pricing. So do your homework and find ones that fit your business, considering your short and long-term growth goals. You will then need to create your registration and consent forms, practice policies, intake paperwork, your note templates, your protocols, set up your calendar availability, and spend time setting up the back-end system, otherwise known as your administrative hub. There's a lot to do with these, and it can get complicated. So take it one step at a time and take advantage of your resources available. There's the Help Center, video tutorials, guidance from your supervisor or mentor or colleague, etc. Now, you can set up your online dispensaries and integrate them within your EMR. The two main client-facing dispensaries are FullScript and Wellevate. You could also set up your wholesale account so that you can receive wholesale pricing. Yay! You will automatically get this with FullScript, and this is where Emerson Ecologics comes in as Wellevate's wholesale side. And as many of you know, FullScript has recently acquired Emerson Wellevate, but they're still brands that can only be procured through the separate sites. Okay, now you're ready to see clients. Yay! It's time to dive into the business aspects. Are you excited? Take a sip of water or some coffee for you early morning and put on your readers and let's begin. Step one, who are you? The very first place to start is to decide on a practice name. You'll want to come up with a list of names and adjectives and descriptors, things that resonate with who you are professionally and how you want to be seen. You'll want to sit with this list for a while, play around with it, even sleep on it, and see what feels right. There's no need to rush because a name is so important. So give yourself the time and the space to see what really fits. You'll want to consider your target audience. So who will pay for your services, where and how you want to grow. You'll want to conduct a competitive search. You're going to search for your names and similar names online and across all social media platforms. Find out what is already in use, and you will want to avoid any trademark infringement. So there's some great sites that you can check out for this. The Secretary of State websites, and there's links to these, which you guys will have a copy of these slides. There's the US Patent and Trademark Office, and then there's the ICANN domain registration. So that is where all URLs are registered. And lastly, of course, a plain old Google search. So see what you come up with. Then it's time to settle on a name, something that strongly resonates with you and your audience, a name that is memorable and provides brand recognition. And you can always work with a temporary name to get started and update it when you're ready to officially form your structure. And once you've formed your structure, you can also create a doing business as name down the road. For example, I had a name, Wild Simmer, and I eventually decided I wasn't sure if that was as recognizable. So I have a doing business as Elana Bodner Nutrition. Step two, you want to secure your online presence. Now that you're ready to create your online suite, you'll want to purchase your domain through hosts like GhostDaddy, Squarespace, and Google, to name a few. There are so many host companies available, and many offer first-time discounts. So do your homework, research, and figure out what's going to work for you. Once you have your URL, you're now ready to get your professional email. So you're going to want to set up your HIPAA compliant email. You can use services like Office 365's Business Standard, which gives you the Microsoft Office applications, real-time syncing of your emails, contacts, calendars, notes, and tasks across all of your devices, a OneDrive for cloud storage, and much more. You also have the Google Suite, which gives you all the various features of the G Suite software. There are different prices to these, so go ahead and take that into consideration to see what's going to work for you. Then there's the fun part, your social media presence. Whatever platform appeals to you, be sure to capture your name as a placeholder. This is not something you need to populate right away, but it's a smart idea to lock it in. Step 3 is formation and structure. Now it's time to really roll up our sleeves and talk about the type of business you want to create and how to set it up. The business structure you select influences everything from your day-to-day operations to your taxes and your personal risk. You want to choose a business structure that offers you the right balance of legal protections and tax benefits. The 3 main types to consider are a sole proprietor, a limited liability company, and a corporation, which for most of us is what's called an S Corp or a sole corporation, because there's one of you. The various entities offer different advantages and disadvantages in terms of personal liability, tax liability, formation costs, and bookkeeping requirements. You'll want to do your research to determine your tax considerations. So how much will you pay in taxes? Will you have an ability to raise money if needed? What paperwork is necessary to file? And what will be your personal liability? This is a great time to talk with your accountant. And if you don't have one, it's time to find one. Discuss with them your personal situation, and then it can help guide you as to the strongest considerations. This will also impact your this will very clearly impact your taxes. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of doing your due diligence at this stage. You may also want to speak with a lawyer who specializes in business entity formation. There are great free online resources at sites like LegalZoom, Rocket Lawyer, and Nolo to get you started, so you have a better idea of what questions to ask, what is necessary within your state and the states in which you're working. You will then want to select your North American Industry Classification System, otherwise called an NAICS code. And once you have that, it's time to get your Federal Employer Identification Number, otherwise known as an EIN. This is necessary to officially register your company with the US government, and you will need this to open accounts. After that, you'll want to register with your local agencies, that is within your state, your city, and your county. First, you'll need to determine if you want or need a registered agent. This is quite personal and can highly depend on whether you have a formal office or are using your home address. This will make your business address public and is where you will be served any legal paperwork. Of course, you can change this at any time, so don't let this freeze up your momentum. Now you can register with the state and get your state tax ID through the Secretary of State website. You will need to determine if you're required to register separately with your city and or county. The final step is to identify if you need to register with other state agencies like the Department of Revenue, Unemployment Division, and miscellaneous agencies like transportation. This is all quite doable on your own if you are resourceful and don't mind spending time on the internet and the phone talking with various agencies. All forms are generally submitted online, so it can be a seamless process once you have all these things figured out. But if this all seems daunting or too complicated, or you're just plain overwhelmed, then this is a highly advantageous time to seek out an attorney that specializes in business entity formation. You want to make sure you form the most appropriate entity for you, and it's not a process you want to have changed down the road. Okay, so it's time to seek professional services. So what do you need from professional services to ensure you, your assets, and business are protected? First, let's talk professional liability insurance. So as most of you should know, this is a requirement for all CNS candidates. You must take up professional liability coverage. This will expand as you grow. You may start out with simple coverage as a student or part-time practitioner. The prices vary across the board and from state to state. So there are many considerations. And this is a great question to ask your supervisor, mentor, or colleagues who they use and what features they have included. And for those of you as a CNS and in practice, you know that this is something that you're constantly keeping an eye on, and you are referring to your colleagues and your community to see who you want to work with and what you're looking for. So you'll want to review your coverage annually and maintain a current certificate of insurance. There are many reasons you need to seek the counsel of an attorney, and you may need to engage several depending on what you're looking for. As we've already discussed, an attorney will help you with starting up your business, and it's one that specializes in business formation. This will cover the federal and state registration of your entity, and will cover your entity documentation with things like an operating agreement, articles of incorporation, certificate of limited partnership, bylaws, or resolutions. Okay, what is all of this, you ask? Well, yes, it can be totally confusing. And certainly you can research what you need and find free templates online, or you can hire an attorney to draw up your paperwork and provide guidance. If your entity is more than one person, you will certainly need to hire an attorney to handle the structured documents and represent the business. You'll also want to find an attorney that specializes in healthcare and can support you with the legal documents specific to this part of your business. These are things like your practice management forms, such as your practitioner agreement, any informed consent, privacy policies, cancellations, communications, payments, and refunds. Anything that's within your EMR that you're communicating with your client. The next is your web documentation. So these are forms like in terms and conditions, privacy policy, and disclaimer. Trademark protections. So if you choose to trademark your name, your logo, or your likeness, you're going to want to have a trademark attorney. It's also called an intellectual property. It's not necessary to do this, but many do. It's another additional cost. So it's something you want to weigh in on when you look at your overall budget. The last thing is if you decide to bring on any interns, consultants, contractors, or employees, you're going to want a contract, and you're going to also want a disclosure agreement to make sure that your information is proprietary and remains within your business. So the last thing is when it comes to taxes, it's possible to do this on your own. But when you have a business, it is a good idea to ensure you understand tax ramifications and expectations. In recapping what we have talked about earlier, an accountant will help you best understand and prepare for the year ahead and guide you on deadlines, provide bookkeeping direction, and answer all of your questions. Depending on your entity, you may be required to set up payroll. And there are many services available, each with different offerings and costs. Some ones to check out include Justo, QuickBooks, Patriot, Paycheck City, and ADP. If you will require financing at any point, you will need a formal business plan to secure a bank loan. This is not necessary for most of you, but it is something to consider if the need arises. Of course, there are plenty of free resources online to help you with a business plan template, and it's always a good idea to consult with your bank to better identify their requirements. Of course, if this is just too overwhelming for you to do on your own, or you just don't have the bandwidth, there are always consultants that are eager to help you pull this together. Next up, finance and accounting. So first of all, now that you have your federal ID and your tax ID, you're ready to open a business checking account. It's very important to keep your personal and business expenses separate. Of course, there are many options to choose from that offer various pricing, features, and functionality. You could choose a local credit union, a brick and mortar bank, or an online bank. Whatever you choose, be sure to do your homework to find one that meets your needs. Some key considerations to look into are the opening requirements and monthly minimum to avoid any monthly fees. Who wants to pay extra? And also, how much money do you want to sit in the bank that you cannot use? Do you need physical checks, or can you pay all of your bills online? Are there any limitations on activity in the month? So transfers, direct deposits, checks, any kind of activity that you have flowing through that checking account. What about ATM access? Is there accessible ATMs for cash? Are there fees in accessing your cash? What about third-party integrations with things like bookkeeping software, Venmo, PayPal, Square, Stripe, etc.? And are there free out-of-bank transfers with services like Zelle or through email? How are you going to get people money? So, and then the last is access through an app for on the go. Do you have app access? This can be really helpful in our busy lifestyle. Next, you want to decide on your bookkeeping software. There are free services like Mint, Wave, ZipBooks, SlickPie, GNU Cash, and paid ones like Quicken and QuickBooks. This is a great question to ask your accountant's advice. You will want to choose one that will scale with you as you grow, or that you can convert into a more robust one down the road. Once you've settled on your software, you'll want to set up your bookkeeping accounts and categories. This will make things very easy when it comes to tax time. You will be able to reconcile your accounts monthly and ensure a smooth management of your finances. Yay. And of course, you can't run a business without a business credit card. And this is a great opportunity to take advantage of promotions for points towards travel or cash, or even reduced interest rates. This card not only helps you keep your business expenses separate from your personal, but will also establish credit for your business. Next up, okay, it's time to budget. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I just want to get things moving. I don't want to take time to budget. Expenses are what they are. But creating a budget is a really important part of this process. You want to understand what your first year will look like and have an idea of your annual expenses. And this picture will help you shape how you move forward and prioritize your expenditures. So let's talk about the different sections. You have your formation and startup expenses. These will include legal fees, marketing, structure filing fees. You also have your professional services. So then this is legal fees outside of the formation, accounting and tax prep and payroll. Then you have your marketing. So this is branding. What will you need to create your brand identity and all of the various elements? Web design development. What will you allocate towards the design and development of your website? Copywriting. Will you be writing your web copy, blogs, and newsletter, or will you want to hire someone? And then there's photography. Do you have someone to take professional looking photos, or will you need to hire a professional photographer and have a photo shoot? Do you want to use imagery? Will you need to purchase stock photos, or do you have pictures that you've already taken? There's printing. What do you need to physically print? Business cards, flyers, postcards, handouts, signage. And then lastly, you have search engine optimization. What are you spending on search engine optimization? Then we get into your services. What services are you going to purchase that will be your overhead costs on a regular basis? So first you have your URL, which is also called your domain. Are you purchasing this for 1 year or 10 years? Web hosting. This includes the service hosting your domain and the service hosting your website and all the various plugins. And you may not know all of this, but at least you can get started with what you think it's going to be or what you want to allocate towards this. Then you have your email license. This is the cost you pay on a monthly or annual basis to maintain your HIPAA compliant business email service. And then there's cloud storage. Do you need a cloud service to back up your computer so that you don't lose things if anything happens to your computer? Your electronic medical records system. So we already talked about that. And whatever you choose, you'll have a monthly/annual fee to run that. You've got video conferencing like Zoom, and then you have credit card fees through Stripe or Square in processing your payments. Then you have the extra services. If you want a design tool like Canva, or email distribution like ConvertFit, MailChimp, or Flowdesk, a workplace automation like Zapier, meal planning services, etc. And then there's taxes. What will you need to set aside for taxes, and how much will you be paying? Phew. Okay, that was a lot. And I know you guys have many questions, and there will be plenty of time for that at the end. So now we're going to move into the creative side, creating your brand identity, otherwise known as branding. So branding, what is it and why do you care? Branding is the process of creating a strong, memorable perception of your business by combining elements of your logo, design, mission statement, tone of voice, and a consistent theme used throughout your marketing communications. This is the creation of your logo, your color palette, and your overall visual theme. This is your look and feel, your visual identity. So how do we get started? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to create your creative brief. So before you engage anyone, you are going to draw up your creative brief. This is an outline of your thoughts and various elements that will describe what you're looking for your audience to feel, who you are, what emotions you want to express, and anything that will verse your creative designer on the elements important to you. This ultimately is what makes your business unique. Many designers have their own worksheet for you to fill in, so this document will give you a framework to have together as you engage your designer. Keep in mind that the clearer you are with what you're looking for and what deliverables you want in the end will ensure that you receive a comprehensive proposal of costs, timing, and a fit for selecting the right designer. These are the sections to use as you organize this brief. So the first one is your creative objectives and your communication priorities. This should outline your overall brand look and feel and detail specific things you want to communicate. For example, are you a science nerd who loves food and cooking? Are you passionate about helping those suffering with an autoimmune condition to take control of their health? So think about things that will fit in to help you describe who you are and what you are trying to communicate. Next, you're going to identify your deliverables. This should include your list of items that you want to receive when all is said and done. This could look like your logo, a type, a mark, a tagline. Do you want to make sure that these are in reverse and black and white and black? Do you want to have individual pieces and a logo tagline lockup? And I know some of these terms are maybe unfamiliar, and these are things that you can ask your designer. Website templates, business cards, and email signature. What are you going to use for your for all of those deliverables? Then your office templates. So like things like your Word template, a PowerPoint template, if you want an HTML template, any kind of templates that you will use over and over to come up with your content and your handouts and whatever it may be that you are creating. Your social media templates, your Zoom background, if you want a Zoom background. What about creating a postcard or flyer, something you can hand out to clients or in networking groups, or you can give to your referral practitioners to have in their offices and to hand out to their clients. If you want some sort of a backdrop, let's say you're doing events or you're doing online cooking courses and you want something fun that represents your image behind you. And then if you're doing any live events, so any signage, tabletop, big signs, little signs, pop-up, so anything that you want printed. You want to be as specific as possible to create this wish list. So it's very important to determine the cost. You don't want to come to the end and be told, oh, hey, well, that wasn't included in my fee, so you're going to have to pay more. No one wants to hear that. And, having this wish list and getting the costs up front, then you can prioritize what you can afford initially and if you need to phase those in down the road. So select the essential items and always come back to other items because you've already created the branding. So then it's just a matter of executing the actual deliverable. Next up, you want to define your target audience. What is your niche market? Who are your demographics? What makes you different? What are your unique qualifiers? After that, you want to define your brand overview. These are your key descriptor words. Remember we talked about that original brainstorming list? So you want to pull out the top highlights, the one that really sat with you. Next, you're going to describe your tone and mood. What metaphors reflect the spirit of your brand? Are there any colors or color schemes you want to focus on? Are there any fonts or graphics or specifics that you want to share? What do you want people to feel when they see your brand? This should give a really nice visual and emotional feel to what you want to reflect from your brand. The next step, you're going to want to provide your supporting visuals and inspiration. This is your mood board. You're going to share logos, packaging, products, images, anything that will help with the inspiration to give your designer a really solid idea of what you're looking for. Next up, there's mandatories. Is there anything that must be included? Do you want to trademark or copyright your logo or your brand? Is there a shape, a size, a color that must be included, or anything that you want to avoid? Next up, you have your competitors. You'll want to provide a list of competitors with website links, anything that will give a good indication for your designer to learn about what you do and who you are trying to stand out from. Okay, now it's time to work on your web design and development. This is something you can do on your own or hire a web designer to really make it pretty and save you time and frustration. The cost for this is literally all over the board. And you don't need a fancy website to get started, just something to validate your expertise and help you sell in clients. And you can always update your site when you have more money to spend. When you're first starting out, as many of us are unsure of our area of specialty, we really want to just start working with people. It is absolutely fine to create a simple, effective site on your own with pre-made templates and easy drag and drop tools. And also, like I talked about earlier, you don't even need a website to get started. You need an EMR. And you can direct all of your clients to your EMR, to your booking page, and that will serve as your online presence until you get a website. So don't let this become a roadblock. Then when you're ready, you can dive into the website of your dreams. Many update their sites every couple of years, so it is a fluid process, and you want to do it right when you're ready to invest money into this aspect of your business. So how do you go about getting started? First, you want to make a list of your content in an organized fashion. This will include your various pages and subpages, how you want your visitors to navigate from the various pages and sections, what copy you need to create, what you want in your header and your footer. You want to create a solid vision so that you can easily map this out. Will you have any blogs ready to go, a free download, other resources that can be downloaded and accessed? Next, you want to decide where you need images, what images you want on your site, the look and feel, and the quantity. Do you want to use stock photos, photos you take, or photos of yourself? Do you want to hire do you want to do a photo shoot? Do you want to hire a professional photographer? From here, you can create your web brief, an outline of what you want in your site, the various pages, along with the content sections on each page, any imagery you have to use or want to purchase, special features and functionality. Do you want a sales integration through your EMR? Do you want a store? Do you want to do classes and events? Do you want to do a blog, recipes? This will give yourself or someone else a clear picture to what you're looking to create. So photography. Now that you have an idea of what imagery you will need, you want to map this out more specifically. Are there specific shots you want to incorporate of you or specific images you need to source? Will you do a professional photo shoot or have a friend take your photos? What scenic backgrounds do you want to include? Do you want shots of you in the kitchen or in a park or a farmer's market? Do you want any action shots or any specific tools and decor? What do you want to wear? What colors, patterns, styles do you feel great in and look good on camera? Will you do a storyboard and make a list of your support decor? Will you outline a shot list? Whatever you decide, you just want to be sure you own all of the negatives and no one else has rights to use your photos and likeness without your permission. So now it's time to roll up your sleeves and get started writing up your copy and determine where you may need help from a copywriter. Don't forget what copy you will want if you are including a blog or free download, scripting out videos, writing up recipes. And since you have your branding, you want to update any handouts that you have created to align them with your brand. At this point, you are ready to engage a designer or developer if that is the route you want to go. You will want to share all of your branding elements together, which includes your creative brief, branding, your style guide, your logo, and all assets that you have to work with, plus your website outline. Your web designer will then sit down with you to capture exactly what you're looking for, assess your needs, costs, and timing, and provide you with a comprehensive proposal before beginning the process of bringing your vision to life. Now, when outsourcing, you will find that some consultants do both design and development, and others stick to just one specialty. Do your research and ensure you understand what you will get and that your team will be able to bring your creative vision to life. There are many ways to do this and a wide range of pricing. You'll want to get multiple proposals to compare and ask as many questions as possible. If you are not working with the same team on design and development, you'll want to ensure all parties communicate well. There are many considerations when designing your website. Is your site designed for custom elements, or can you easily use a standard page builder? What special elements and functionality are you looking for? How easy will it be for you to make updates and add pages and change out pictures? Will the amount of images slow down the load speed and navigation? Are you optimizing your user experience? Are you considering your growth? Are there any other fees that you should be aware of that could come up? Yes, I know this is a lot, and much of this comes into play when you outsource your website. But the main point I want to get across is that you need to be involved and should not make any assumptions. You can manage this process like you manage your client relationships. Don't leave everything up to the people you hire. Yes, they are experts, but this is still your money, your site, and you want to make sure that you have a handle on everything that you're doing so that you get what you want in the end. So after you wrapped up the fundamentals and starting up your business, you'll want to move into the marketing side. This includes your marketing strategy, platforms, and tactics. This is a whole other topic that we will save for another time, one that I absolutely love. There's a lot that goes into marketing, and we actually dive into all things marketing in our 101 course with Sarah Kahn. Finally, we made it. I hope you are still with me. I know we covered a lot today, and this process may seem quite overwhelming. My goal was to provide you with a vision to map out a plan and clarity on how to get started with your nutrition practice. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Elana. That was so much information. We do have a couple questions, and then anyone else who has any, feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A. So the first one was from Cora. Cora asked, what is the difference between having an accountant or a bookkeeper? Do I need both? Will I get help with filing my yearly taxes?
That is such a great question, Cora. So an accountant is the one who actually does your taxes and can answer all things tax related. The bookkeeper is the one that actually manages your bookkeeping. So they will use bookkeeping software and they will input all of your expenses monthly. They'll reconcile and they'll ensure that everything is ready to go so that it can be handed over to your accountant for your taxes. Now, it is very easy to do your own bookkeeping, especially when you're started out, because you don't have a lot going on. It's not complicated, but you could hire a bookkeeper initially to just get your software set up so that you have the accounts and the categories, and then you can enter on your own. And oftentimes your accountant has bookkeepers in their office or that they can refer to. So, but I can't emphasize enough to get your bookkeeping started initially, because it makes it so much easier when it comes around to tax time.
Great. All right. Joy asked if there'll be any of the talking points sent out with the PowerPoint.
Talking points. If you've got the PowerPoint itself, there isn't any other handout with the talking points, but you certainly have the video that you can access. And I believe it's going to eventually be available on the ANA website, so you always can refer back to it.
Yes. So when I have the recording, I will send out the slides and the recording together, probably early next week. So everyone will have access to that. All right. The next question, any recommendation on how to find lawyers? For example, one that works within healthcare, as you suggested.
That is such a great question, Joy, and that can get very complicated. So first, I would ask for referrals. I would get onto the different Facebook groups. I would talk to your supervisor, mentor, colleagues, find out who others are using in your area. If you can't find anyone that way, or you still want to, talk with others, I would do an internet search and I would put in, healthcare attorney. You could also put one in for your specific state. And then when you talk to them, you're going to want to also ask, if they're familiar with, the various states that you plan to do business in, meaning, that you plan to see clients in and that you plan to work out of, because you have to follow state regulations for both you and your client side.
Great. All right, I think we'll give it just another second to see if anybody else has questions. I did put the survey link in the chat for CNSs to get their CE, and the link to the website for the upcoming webinars. We have an additional business building webinar this month, and we're also doing a Q&A with the certifications team. So that can be any kind of questions that you have about anything to do with being a candidate or a CNS. So Debbie and I will be live answering those questions. So there's a place on the website to submit questions as well as join the Zoom meeting. So please feel free to check those out. And does anybody else have any questions?
It's been my pleasure today to talk to you, and I hope that I've given you a lot of food for thought to get started.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us. And I hope everyone will join us for some upcoming webinars. And again, if you have missed any, please go to the website. All of the recordings are on there. So great. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yeah.